How's it going? It is, a frigid day. I got my new waist belt in. This one I think is going to work. This one's got a bigger pouch, and so I think I'm going to be able to fit my cell phone in it without fearing that I'm going to break it open. And it's even got a better sports bottle than the other waist pouch I turned in, and I spent less money on it. So I'm actually pretty effing happy so far. Good start to the day. Other than the fact I'm going to be late for work, but that's not really an indicator of my day being good or bad. Anyway, I've been thinking about this as I've been stewing on various work that I do, right? As the study that I am, as the disseminator, the dissector that I am, and as one who knows where the foundation, the pillar of his heart stands, if you will. I have looked into, all sorts of things associated with how the inversion works, the dark side of the truth, and have worked very hard to reconcile what I'm pretty sure I have found as a truth and where it contextually exists. Because it can be a question of whether what you've uncovered is of an origin nature or something that is happening in the middle of a story, right? Some people, I think, find things that happen in the middle of history and think that that's also an origin, right? Which in some senses is a little bit fair because, you can go all the way back in antiquity in certain ways, and it's just, you've got ancient history that is post flood, for lack of a better word, pre-flood. And then everything is super fuzzy either way, and certainly something that gets lost in the weeds is how everybody's day-to-day life was, right? You can't look at like American civilization and say my day-to-day life is pretty damn exact to the day-to-day life of anybody else in my demographic. I know you can't say that because I know my fucking neighbors well enough and know how much I am not like them. Oh my gosh. And the few precious gems that are a little bit more like me. So, when you are that individualized from your peers, you kind of, and you have a sense of your own value, and you put yourself out there to kind of fill in a gap because you're of a belief system that some of us have seen something with our lives that is part of our gift to the world, that kind of thing, right? Not that gift to the world, it's maybe not really a gift to the world. Like, people hear world and they think, oh, all of the earth. Who are you, fucking Caesar? No. Like, world, your world, just your community, the people of your life, your interactive, the extent of your knowing of all things that are, right? It's just like I'm less well traveled than other men, and so that's a narrower lens than a lot of other people that I know and have met. And there's going to be certain things where I just can't argue with another person about. If I'm talking to my friend who's been to Thailand, I can't tell him he's wrong about his personal experiences in Thailand. Right? Because that's not in the history books. That's in his story. So, religious infantilism, as I have so titled this one. What am I talking about? I am talking about sources like right now, my big extracurricular, like when I'm not reading Heidegger, is through checking out, like, YouTube feeds me this stuff, like, because I found it as on the YouTube algorithm, right? You know, YouTube suggested it to me, you know, because it was lumped in with Gnostic stuff, but it's not. It's not even Gnostic. It's more wild than that. Especially because, well, it's satanic. And the reason why that is interesting to me is because it's not Satanism that you've ever known, telling you about a Christianity that you've never known. So this is the Lady Babylon channel. Dr. DC Amen or something like that. And he is a linguistic scholar, language scholar, very proficient with, like, the Greek. And he asserts that the earliest texts of the Bible, even the Old Testament, are Greek, not Hebrew and Aramaic, because there was a break in the continuity, right? There's a belief, right, because of the quote books of Moses, that since that time that happened during the Exodus, that the Hebrew tribes had Moses holding on to all these scrolls that are the Torah, as we know now. That's what has permeated in the imagination that has been then decked upon. It's kind of like false science, where they will go with the best scientific theory because they want to move on, right? It's like, all right, we figured out gravity. Now let's figure out how to make life better with our assumption of gravity, because this is the best theory I can come up with, even though the tests are not consistent enough to pan out. Like, this is a thing that happens in science. Guess what? It happens in everything. It happens in everything because we are children. Because our institutions have made us into children as a religion. We're not used to thinking about religious, you know, like, because we see, like, grown people, old people in these religious institutions. You fucking really look into what's going on in their religious state, and then you look at their very personal home lives, or just they themselves when they're just in their relaxed, like, not like putting on a persona for you. They're children. Their maturity level is at best somewhere in their teenage years, at whatever age. These are the people that the leaders of the beginnings of the church functioned upon. Children. The historical Jesus that you're not going to like the fact that the man actually existed once you've read these Greek texts that Lady Babylon channel does, that reads the texts, translates them, goes through the work to show you that he's translating it properly. You're not gonna like it, because that's who the apostles were. Children. Not grown men. Children. I don't care what you think you've heard, because, oh, but they were tax collectors and things. That's a man's job. Not in that region of the world. That region of the world, they got all sorts of different people that were available. This was a grown man with a cult of children. And it gets a lot worse. Because of drugs and other things. You're not going to like the fact that, yes, Jesus was a real man who existed in history, once you actually get the historical text proper and not the sanitized text for religious consumption, which goes through the mythos without the mystery. And the mythos is more to do about a shallow child's interpretation of some very, very adult cult rites that were there before Jesus, but Jesus was doing in his own sense, right? You know, kind of like how, like, you've got, like, a church, and then you see another church, and you're just like, no, he's doing his own thing, right? Yeah, it's something else. I am not interested in getting involved with Dr. Amon's whatever his practice is that he's got going on. I mean, like, you know, they're all shaving their heads over there. Why? Baby bald, because they're pagans, and they're going, but they're doing some Roman pagan shit, some Greco-Roman pagan shit, right? And it's Aphrodite. It's an Aphrodite situation, right? Because they know that in the texts about Aphrodite, and they're talking about this stuff, and it's relevant because it's all part of a bunch of things that were destroyed by Christians and then turned on its head. And so this infantilism is pervasively everywhere. The naivete, right? You can have some fairly, like, you know, you can have mature children, remember, right? You know, it's one thing to be like, you know, when we say child, we look at, like, oh, you know, out of control, whatever. Like, no, let's talk about well-behaved children too, not just badly behaved children. Talk about mature children. Mature children can be also very, very scary, because that impressionable mind is paying attention, and it's paying attention to teacher, and teacher up to no good. And teacher is that child's whole fucking world. Papa. Baba? Rabbi, right? It's an orphan cult, right? It alleges that Jesus started an orphans cult. This all makes fucking sense now when you look at the surface persona of the church with its, you know, with making people soft. It's just like you're running around and your entire church is being run by, like, a kindergarten teacher. It's all kindergarten over around here. The way, look at 2020. It was the tone and tenor of a very, very stern kindergarten teacher. A very stern kindergarten teacher telling you to sit down, look forward, keep a pencil in your hand, stop jerking your knee. Like, it's kindergarten. And our relationship with our teachers and our parents at that age is, especially in its negative qualities, going to be your original dragon. Your original fears. Because you want to be loved and accepted and approved of, and to have other people acknowledge that you exist, so you feel alive and connected to the divine. Right? A hug from someone else makes you feel like you're connected to the divine, because somebody in the world just acknowledges that you have feelings, right? We do this, we do this to children, right? Children misbehaves, they are not deserving of a hug. And a child knows this, that they don't get a hug until they are back into the good graces of the dragon. Because nobody hugs better than the dragon, but nobody squeezes you worse than the dragon either. And when the dragon is not your actual parents, who also need to actually love you, because obviously a parent doesn't have to love their child. It's crazy to think that can happen. I'm grateful that I live with a family that isn't psychotic. Anyway, this stuff, the stuff on the basic academic level of what this guy's talking about is quite compelling. I'm quite the student in a basic sense. Definitely not an initiate, but I already have my initiations. I already have my liberated path, right? He's making a liberated path for people. I'm not even 100% sure I agree with it. I may be too adversarial for some of the things that I see. But whether he is a force of corruption or a force of good in the world, he's also a presentation that if you hate the fact that he's taking the sources and saying the wrong things about it, then you go ahead and present the sources in your way. Because maybe I will do that. But then again, I'm not interested in learning Greek right now. But I am interested in being less late for work than I am. I'll catch you later.